Well, for more on the attempts to remove President Trump from office, let's go to Frank Bowman. He's a professor at the University of Missouri School of Law. Welcome to the program.
Nice to be here.
Absolutely. Well, to start, I want to play this clip looking just at how we got to this point with Democratic-led calls to remove the president from office.
Then we're stuck with a president who lost the election by a lot, and we have to live with that for 4 more years. We're just not going to let that happen.
We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special.
I joined the Senate Democratic leader in calling on the Vice President to remove this president by immediately invoking the 25th Amendment.
To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
Frank Bowman, some really interesting rhetoric there, all within a span of 24 hours or so. How easy really is the process to invoke the 25th Amendment?
Well, there are 2 possibilities here. The first is that the vice president could convene the cabinet, the heads of the cabinet departments, and if a majority of them were to vote that Trump is essentially unfit, that is to say mentally or physically unfit to serve, they would convey a memorandum to Congress indicating that that was the case. Then the 25th Amendment provides for an opportunity for the president to object, and then for the cabinet to say, no, we really meant it. And if that happens, then a 2/3 vote of both the House and the Senate would be required to disqualify Trump from the presidency for the remaining days of his presidency until the 20th. The other possibility is that the 25th Amendment allows for Congress to set up a commission or body other than the cabinet to find that the president is incompetent to serve. I frankly think that is an extraordinary long shot, because you'd have to get a bill proposing that, such a commission, through both houses of the Congress. You'd have to set up the commission would have to meet, the commission would have to decide, they'd have to report back to the Congress. I think that's remarkably impractical. I think to the extent that anything is going to happen here, it's going to be through the vehicle of impeachment.
Right, and so you bring out impeachment. Just hearing the word itself really denotes to me a really long, drawn-out process. Is there any time left?
Congress can, if it wants to, move very, very quickly. One of the, well, probably actually the first formal impeachment of a United States president, that of Andrew Johnson, following the Civil War, occurred 3 days after he did the thing that got him impeached. Congress can move at light speed if there is sufficient resolution to do so on both sides, and it certainly appears on the House side that Nancy Pelosi, who fundamentally controls the process there with a Democratic majority, is now determined. She's deeply angry, as certainly she should be, since the heart of American democracy was breached by a mob. 5 people died. Her office was actually taken over. Some fool was photographed sitting in her chair. She and all Democrats, indeed all Americans, are furious about this. They're determined to do something about it. And I think she's going to drive the process of impeachment in the House forward very, very quickly. I've heard that that the articles are going to be introduced on Monday. You may have a vote as early as Wednesday. Now that takes us to the Senate, of course, where where a trial is required. But even there, the parameters of the trial are very flexible. If your viewers remember from about a year ago, there was considerable debate over how much was actually required of an actual trial in terms of presentation of evidence and so forth. And the answer is however much the Senate wants to hear. So it is quite possible, although I think somewhat unlikely, that this whole business could be run through the Congress in a very short order. The real obstacle to at least a complete impeachment conviction of Mr. Trump is, of course, the attitude of Republican senators, 17 of whom would have to vote for conviction in order for that to be successfully accomplished.
Right. Well, it's really, as we keep saying, less than 2 weeks before Trump's term is over. How much more harm can he do?
Well, potentially, he could do a lot. But as I was saying to my wife last night, he can and he can't, because no individual president, bouncing around the inside of the White House can actually do much of anything on his own. What's required is for him to give orders that could cause harm and for other people to follow them. There is some danger that he might do that in the next 12 days. But I think that a sea change may have occurred here. I think at long last, Trump and his aiders and abettors have gone so far that the entire country, or at least the vast majority of it, certainly the political classes of both parties, are recoiling from him and are seriously afraid of what he might do. And thus, I think any really destructive orders that he might give in the next 12 days are unlikely to be obeyed.
Right. Professor, we have actually run out of time, but I need to squeeze it in because I want to know, are any of these moves designed to prevent President Trump from being able to run again?
It's possible. One of the two remedies for impeachment, if you are convicted in the Senate, you can be removed. But the other thing is, if the Senate takes a second vote, it can disqualify you from future office holding under the federal government, which would disqualify Mr. Trump from running again in 2024.